Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Thursday, November 7th. If you were just tuning in, we just went over the NFL midseason awards. We went over all of the 7 major award categories, gave our midseason finalists top 3, and of course, the winners or the leaders in the clubhouse for now. In this segment, we turn our attention to the NBA. The NBA, just over 2 weeks in now, we have our second power rankings coming out. We'll talk about that in just a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you are on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Thursday, November 7th. But like I was saying, in this segment, we are going to get all into the NBA power rankings. The NBA power rankings, it's a little bit different than those NBA power rankings, right? You have a couple of, different changes throughout the days, and I will admit this one was made before yesterday's game. So if a couple of things change, I apologize for that. But at number 30, the Utah Jazz, they've just been the worst team in the league, right? You had them finally get the first win and the other team was embarrassed. That's never a good sign. There haven't been too many positives to come out of this team yet. And that's not to say that there can't be. There's still, hope for this team. They've got a couple of young stars, a couple of young guys, but they're leaders in the clubhouse right now to go get Cooper Flag in the draft. Should be an interesting season in Utah. At 29, it's Portland, and there's been a lot of talk. I know the basketball host Nelson, when he goes on and does this show, he made a list of his own. We did a little comparison. He thought there were some other teams that were a little worse than the Blazers, and I can see it. They've had a lot of their young stars grow early on in this season, but overall, I think this team is still a year or two away from, or at least those young guys are a year or two away from really making that big step that they need. The Blazers are getting better. There's no doubt in my mind that they're getting better, but I think some of the other teams have just a little bit more juice than them. Case in point, the Washington Wizards at 28. The Wizards are in a very similar spot to the Portland Trailblazers. They've got a lot of young stars, but what I've seen out of the rookies in Washington early on in this season, I've been very impressed. Alex Sarr coming out, making a couple of big plays, Keyshawn George, and of course, Bub Carrington. Those three are really showing out. Then that's not including second-year Bilal Coulibaly. Those four are an extremely talented young core. You throw in some fun playmakers like a Jordan Poole, a big like Jonas Valanciunas. There's some things to like about this team a lot. It's still a bad team, don't get me wrong, but this is the most excited I've been for a Wizards team since John Wall was last healthy. Very long time ago. At 27, it's the Detroit Pistons. And again, another one where we're seeing some of those young stars develop. That's what a lot of these teams at the bottom are. Probably we're going to say the same thing for about the next 3 or 4 teams, if I'm being honest. But the Detroit Pistons still have a little bit of life in there. We've seen a lot of growth out of Cade Cunningham, even last season. And now that they have a competent coach, something that they did not have all of last season, this is a team that you can still kind of see a little promise. Again, still a bad team, but there's a couple of options out there. There's a couple of guys that you take a look and you say, you know what? They might not be that bad. At 26 is the Charlotte Hornets. You talk about young stars. These stars aren't as young. LaMelo Ball, obviously, you saw Brandon Miller hit a buzzer beater the other night. This is a really, really young team that just can't stay healthy. If they can stay healthy, they have a shot at a play-in spot. And I know that doesn't say too much about a basketball team in the NBA when 2/3 of the league make it to at least a play-in spot. But this is a Charlotte Hornets team that has, again, a lot of young guys, and as long as they can stay healthy, they're they're better than those bad teams if they can stay healthy. And that's a big if. They haven't proven they can do that yet, and I'm still a little concerned. So they're going to hold out at the bottom just a little bit longer. At 25, it's the Brooklyn Nets. They seem to have some magic. Dennis Schroeder every once in a while just goes on a little bit of a run. Cam Thomas, when he gets hot, he gets hot. And this is a Nets team that, again, bad. They're not really playing for much, but they have a couple of guys that just every once in a while for a week or two can just go on this kind of run that makes you think, hey, maybe they can be something. But they're smart. They're not going for anything. They're just having fun out there. Playing spoiler, the Nets are at 25. At 24, it's the Spurs. Losing Greg Popovich, I think, is a huge blow, and I need to see how they do without him. But Chris Paul has really helped this team out. Jeremy Sochan has taken a huge step up this season. He had a lot of duties that he wasn't prepared for as a point guard last season. Victor Wembanyama taking a lot of jump shots. I'd like to see him get inside the paint a little more. I know he's not really built to, go bump with some of those big men down low, not going to compete in a box out competition with Steven Adams, but he's a guy that I think you can get him down in the block a little bit more. He's still a scary defender, and he's got the ability to hit those jump shots, so it's not the worst thing, but there are a couple games where he's cold and you'd like to get him a couple of shots inside the arc, inside the paint, and he's not always getting there. At 23, the Bucks, and this is the team that I understand if you have lower, but whenever your team has Dame and Giannis on it, I don't care what's going on with your coaching staff. I don't care what's going on with your defense. You are not the 29th best team in the league. You're not the worst team in the league. This is a team that has a lot of issues, don't get me wrong. They're sitting at 23 for a reason because they can't figure out that defense. They had the same issue last year, and I don't know why they continue to employ Doc Rivers. But this is a team with oodles and oodles of talent, and you cannot sit here and tell me that this is a team that you would not be scared of if you are facing them in a 7-game series. They are a team that on any given day, Lillard can drop 50, and Giannis every night is dropping 35 and 12, right? This is a team that you do not want to mess with when they're on. They have not turned that switch yet, and that is very concerning. Don't get me wrong, but this is a good Bucks team. I'm not sounding the trade Giannis alarm bells yet, although I have heard a lot of that. Something I don't quite understand. 22, it's the Sixers. We finally saw some Paul George. Now we need to see him play with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid suspended for shoving a reporter. I'm going to hold out too much judgment on this team. Injuries, again, something to just be aware of. Paul George coming in, I don't know if he's really going to lead the team on his own, but he's fine. This is a team that is preparing more for the playoffs than the regular season anyway, and they're going through their own whatever, their own stuff. But I really would like to see Paul George and Joel Embiid together soon, and we're just going to have to wait a couple more days, a couple more games for that to happen. At 21, it's the Hawks. Trae Young does this thing where he just becomes one of the best point guards in the league on a really bad team every once in a while. He still is one of the best point guards in the league. This Hawks team just doesn't have the juice around him, and that's fine. We all knew that heading into the season, but Trae Young is willing this team further than it should right now, and that's not even very far, 2 weeks into the season, but still, 2 losses to the Wizards, not very good, but Trae Young playing amazing basketball. He alone is the reason they're here at 21. At 20, it's the Bulls. They have this same thing. They have very ineffective devil magic where they find a couple of guys. Vucevic right now is playing really good basketball. Zach LaVine healthy right now, which is important. And they're gonna see that and they're gonna say, you know what? We can compete. Let's not blow it up, which everyone thought they were going to. You have Josh Giddey playing some of his best basketball of his career. They're going to come crashing back down to earth, but 20 really isn't that high up in the sky, so it's not going to be too big of a fall. The Bulls hopefully will learn their lesson and not go all in, even though they can't really go much further in or, that far out because they don't really have the assets anymore. The Bulls need to just go and tank. They're kind of like the Saints right now. The Saints kept pushing it off, and now you see where they are. That's why you don't do that. The Bulls are in a very similar situation. The Raptors at 19. Injuries, again, a lot of these teams early in the season we're not going to hold too much judgment on. Injuries have really hampered the Raptors, but how about How about RJ Barrett? He's been out there. He's been playing really, really good basketball for the Raptors up in his home country of Canada. This is a team that, if everyone gets back healthy, they could make a little bit of noise. We're not going to hold judgment on him yet. Injuries are a big part, but RJ Barrett is playing incredible basketball right now. The Raptors are at 19. 18 goes the Clippers. They've really struggled at home despite how nice of an arena that new place is. James Harden playing really good basketball, but he can't do it on his own. You have Zubac playing really good basketball too. They can't win at home though, and I don't really know why. It seems like a really cool arena. It seems like the fans are into it. They get all those prizes for being the loudest fans. I think that's super cool. But Clippers have their own issues. They were never going to be that good, especially without Kawhi Leonard in. And they're going to come back down a little bit more. They started off pretty high. At 17, it's the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton finally starting to do things. They get a big win against the Celtics earlier this week. I think that's like a week ago at this point. But still, they're starting to get their groove. The Pacers started off slow. Halliburton wasn't getting into it. Miles Turner playing really good basketball. Pascal Siakam playing really good basketball. If you can get those three working together, all playing really good together, this is a team that you see why they made the Eastern Conference Finals. They're a team that could do it again because they are improved from last year. They just weren't all playing at the same time, and Halliburton's a little bit too inconsistent for me to really believe in this team. At 16, it's the Pelicans. Brandon Ingram started off really hot. Zion's played a couple of good games. McCollum's come in there. They've got a lot of pieces that, again, haven't all played together good at the same time, whether that be due to injury, rust, whatever. They just haven't all played together. Again, early in the season, this is a Pelicans team that I think has a lot of promise, but they just need to figure out how to work together. The Rockets here at 15. They're a team that I have a little bit of trouble with. They have these really good nights and these really bad nights. No doubt about it. Sengun is someone that I'm a big fan of, but he's a little inconsistent, just like everybody else. They go out and they dominate a game, then they get dominated. It's kind of an ebb and flow with this team, which is why they're sitting right at the middle. The Rockets are at 15. The Magic are at 14. They have really struggled without Paolo Banchero in there, and I don't blame them. He's their best player, but they need to be better without him. It's really, really bad. They cannot sustain anything offensively, and it's as much as he was an offensive engine, they had other guys, Jalen Suggs, KCP, that can be supporting roles, step up in games without Paolo Banchero, but they've been unable to do that this season, and that is very concerning for a team that I was honestly really high on heading into the year. At 13, it's the Kings. DeMar DeRozan has been an excellent pickup for them. Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, all of them together have really made this Kings team a weapon offensively. They have their issues. They of course would. We all knew what it was going to be, but it's a fun team. They're a team that is not going to do too much in the playoffs, but they keep playing like this. There's no reason they can't make a run to the playoffs. The Lakers at 12. They started off the season hot, and they've kind of cooled down a bit. They're still playing better basketball than last season, but you can still ask for a little bit more out of them. You can still ask for a little bit more out of the old man duo over there. Try to get back to the way they were playing in the beginning, but this is still a really good Lakers team, and it's much improved from last season. 11, it's the Heat. They have not really started off slow like they usually do. The regular season, Jimmy Butler been playing good basketball. Bam Adebayo started slow, but he's starting to heat up again. This is a Heat team that is very dangerous, and we can't sleep on them. We can't forget that this is a very dangerous Heat team with a really solid core and a great culture, of course. But it's the regular season, so we're gonna shut one eye on them for now. Still very good though. At 10, it's the Nuggets. Losing Aaron Gordon sucks. They were still able to go out and get a win against the Thunder, who I think who are still yet to come up on this list. But losing Aaron Gordon and the way that bench plays without Jokic on the court is very, very concerning. You have a Denver Nuggets team that should be very good. it's sounding so many alarm bells how weak that depth is. You had a good Russell Westbrook game without Aaron Gordon. He's not a guy that I want to rely on anymore at this point in his career, though. At 9, it's the Grizz. I love this Grizzlies team, man. This is a fun Grizzlies team. You're starting to see a little bit of Zach Edey coming into his own. He struggled to begin the season, no doubt about it. Ja Morant pulling off highlight plays. He's something special. This is a good Grizzlies team, and I think people forgot about them because of the suspensions to Ja last year, the changes that they made, but they still have a really deep team, honestly, and they can make a lot of noise out west. At 8, it's the Timberwolves. This is a team that made a lot of noise out west. They've getting a lot of respect. I think they're a little bit overhyped right now. They're still figuring out how to play as a team with a Julius Randle. Dante DiVincenzo has been huge for them. Just his ability to spot up, hit a couple threes has been big. Defense hasn't quite been as good as last season. That's to be expected, though. They'll figure it out. The Timberwolves are still a really great team. At 7, it's the Mavs. Klay Thompson has been a really good addition. He's had his off games, no doubt about it, but he's been on more often than not. And I think him with Luka on the outside has been really good for the Dallas Mavericks. I'm a big fan of how they improved this season. The Knicks at 6. This is an interesting one, right? This is a Knicks team that has all the players, all the reason, all the storyline to go and be a top 3, top 2 team in the league, right? But they started off slow. They're sitting at just about 500 right now, and Cat's come into his own. That's what we were waiting on. The Knicks are still a very good team, don't get me wrong. But like I said, when I was making this list with Nelson, he wanted the Knicks to be all the way up at number 4, and I think that's a little ridiculous. I don't think they're a bad team. I have them at 6 here. I think they're a very good team, but this is a Knicks team that I think we need to pump our brakes on just a little bit. At 5, it's the Warriors. Steph Curry, I don't think I need to say anything else, right? This is a team that's been awesome. Steph Curry came back from a little bit of an injury. He keeps doing his thing. And Buddy Hield, a sharpshooter, if there ever was just simply a sharpshooter, he's come into his own this season at Golden State. He's really stepped into that kind of Klay Thompson role and replaced it. Done a pretty good job. Still have some issues there, but this is a Golden State team that is much better than last year. At 4, it's the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant is playing like an MVP right now. He's been in the league forever, and he is playing some of his best basketball of his career right now. I don't know what happened in Paris, but Kevin Durant is playing like another animal right now, and that is huge for the Suns. They needed this. This is a Suns team that put so much into this big 3. They needed to pay off, and the way that Kevin Durant is playing right now, the way that Beal is hitting his shots, the way that Booker is playing, they might be able to get something done. 3 goes to the Cavs. I believe they're the last undefeated team in the league after the Thunder lost. They've had a couple of scares, but they're coming out there. They're playing really good ball. Darius Garland, Evan Mobley have really stepped up this season. Obviously, you have Donovan Mitchell, but you have a guy in Jarrett Allen. That's a huge big 4 right there, and no one slowed them yet, so there's no reason to think they're going to slow down. The Celtics at 2. Jason Tatum also playing at MVP level. He's angry, and it's showing, and this is going to be a fun Boston Celtics team. They're just OP right now. They just shoot threes. They shoot you out of the gym, really. And they'll have a night like in the first game of the season where they shoot 60% from 3, and you just can't do anything about it. This is a really good Celtics team. They don't really have any weaknesses, which is crazy to say about any kind of basketball team right now with the way that this league is, but the Celtics are stacked. And that leaves us at 1. This obviously was a much more obvious one before the Thunder lost their first game of the season, but still, this is an elite Thunder team. You have incredible defense, great shooting, great playmaking. It checks all of the boxes. I think them and the Celtics far and away are the best teams in the league, and I can hear your argument if you want the Celtics to be at 1. I could even hear your argument if you want the Cavs to be at 1 because they're undefeated, but the Thunder, I think, far and away are the best team in the league right now, even with that loss. And I mean, everyone's developing the way they need them to. They still have all the assets to make a big move too, so anything can happen this season. The Thunder are the number 1 team in the league. But let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts on my NBA power rankings. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention to the college football playoff rankings. It came out on Tuesday. We didn't get to talk about it yesterday. We are going to go over all of it, talk about my issues, what I liked about it, what I didn't. So stick around for that. We'll be right back here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.